longtime listeners, forgive the repetition, but this needs to be said, I think, again. I did not intend to have the portfolio that I have because it's so far different from what I've usually done. However, over the past year, it's kind of amazing to me what I've ended up with. And it's just this weekend where, I was looking at our results and, thinking things through, that a light bulb went off my head. And it's that, without exception, with only one asterisk, all of my holdings are, I think, legitimate 10x potential companies. And that means that the gap between what I see in terms of the fundamentals and the potential worth is so wide, and the market hasn't yet caught on to this, or not enough time has yet passed, that they're all sort of like coiled springs. And the amount of time it might take to get to the 10x if you're a Patreon, I made a very fancy spreadsheet with a whole column, lots of pretty colors, that said my estimated time, best case scenario in which we might see the 10x. And some of these are as little as 2 years. So I think what I'm trying to say here is it was a surprise to me that I could legitimately categorize all of these as potential 10xers. I also included a column with my completely out of the ass probabilities, like, what do I really think? Like, what the odds are? I bet you're going to squeeze my shoes and paws about this column. But I was like, I was really trying to be honest, like, how's this look? Like, am I really, just indulging in a whole bunch of hopium?
Yeah.
And so we could talk about those. We could talk about those. You hold on. You'll have your turn. And one more point I want to say, 2 more points. It's not that I don't think your stocks, Luke, can't also 10x. So that's also a sort of weird gray area, because if your companies keep executing, like Rocket Lab, for example, which we'll talk about, right? Which could have easily been one of mine, though I screwed up with the options. Won't get into that again. But this does lead me to a big principled idea, which is the market efficient or not? And all investors always squabble over this, right? And the only way this current King of the Jungle portfolio makes sense for me to say these are potentially 10x in as little as 2 years is if the market is inefficient.
Right.
And I truly fundamentally believe that. And I believe that because I've invested for 25 years. So all the cases that have come up over and over and over and over again, where there are some situations where, despite all the information, despite all the price data, despite all the quants and blah, 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 there's still a fundamental mispricing in the equities if you have done your due diligence and you kind of understand what the ground is relative to what the more arbitrary price is. Okay. So I saw on our Patreon that after I posted my portfolio, we got the big old badger does not approve of monkey shenanigans report. So have at it, buddy.
All right. And we'll put something on screen here and we'll just list out your companies. Are you happy for us to share like all of your columns? Because a couple of them are interesting, right? You've got the stock name, you've got is a 10x possible, and then you've got your odds of 10x and the minimum time to making a 10x. Can we stick those on the podcast, or is that for Patreon members?
You know what? At this point, it's okay. Let's share with everybody. Okay. Patrons, you guys will bless you with all kinds of good stuff in the future.
All right. So here it is. Here's the list: Coherus, EOS, RLAY, Therapeutics, IRIS, Tesla, ASTS SpaceMobile, and Chainlink. There's your 6. Now, I haven't actually got any major problem with any of these 6, particularly Tesla, which I own. And I think they're interesting opportunities. And I've got like a venture sub portfolio in my portfolio, and I call my options like my gambling side. That's really kind of like my venture investments. It's the stuff that I think like 9 out of 10 of my venture investments are going to fail. They're going to trade sideways. They might even go to 0. They're just not going to help my overall returns. But like that 1 in 10 might deliver such returns, a bit like your 10x's here, Like I'm looking with that sub portfolio, I'm looking for like 100 times returns, right? And you find that one in a blue moon, and that covers the losses of all the rest, and it really pays you off big time. And so this is a legitimate strategy, but the bit, and I know you know I was going to lay into you, because in our Monday dashboard, you will see my comment. Your odds of 10x column hints at mental illness, buddy. What are you smoking that you think? Let's just take one that we talk about over and over.